Hello everyone, and welcome back to Barrack Saga. Today we're going to be doing Sidequest X-1, which is the last of the 4 side quests in the game that are to do with permanent recruitment of these 4 units that I've had to be training up to level 10. And I'm very happy to finally be getting this out of the way because Sylvis is extremely expensive to hire. As I mentioned in the last video, Laurentia will not be available for this map, and so at the start of it we get all of her stuff given to us. The next thing that I do is sell off Burrows' old ballista and trade him the new one, because the new one is much stronger and I very much doubt that I'm going to be using Burrows enough to break either of them. After that, we have a bunch of permanent recruitments going off like a sequence of dominoes. Firstly, we have Dean's permanent recruitment now that I've killed 60 people with him. That's followed by Ruby's promotion at long last, and that leads into an extended scene in which Clifford also permanently joins us. And then we move on to the Mercenary Guild, and there we first do Dean's promotion. So Dean now has some pretty ridiculous stats, as well as a fancy new weapon that he picked up on his recruitment. And we also permanently recruit Faramir finally. And after that, there is an event for Owen. This is not a permanent recruitment in itself, but it is confirmation that we have him to the required happiness threshold to permanently recruit him during the next chapter. The final permanent recruitment here is Thaddy, who I am never going to use again because I've never used him at all, really, but we're getting him for a full recruitment anyway, which is great. Next up, I hire Saphira. Saphira is the only unit in the entire game so far that I have never had out on a map as a blue unit, and I wanted to do that at some point, and I figured this was the best map to do it. However, I wound up not deploying her here, which means that this was kind of a waste, but that's alright because it was only a waste of 100 gold, which is the minimum that she can be hired for, so it's mostly okay. She's going to have to come back on a later map. This is the second map in a row that I re-recorded because I did a decent run and then later decided I wasn't happy about it. So as you can see, I had to do a quick change so that I could deploy Alvina on this map, which I don't usually do. I usually like to have all of my preps in one block. Anyway, let's talk about the actual map now. This is a boat map and the objective is to capture, not kill the boss. If we kill him, it ends up being a game over. The main feature of this map is that there are a bunch of pirates on our boat and they are running for the exit with the loot that they've stolen. So we want to kill as many of these as possible, and there are 2 in particular that are high priority. One has a health charm which heals HP every turn, and another has a gold dust which is a crafting item that I intend to use. This is why I deployed Alvina, because she has the incredible movement required to chase them down. But there's something that she has to watch out for. The top archer on this map has broadhead arrows and a triple fire bow, so Alvina needs to stay out of that guy's range as much as possible, because if she gets attacked by him, her horse will almost certainly be killed, and I really don't want that to happen. Most of my army is going to follow the enemy pirates along the top gangplank, but Clifford is going off along the bottom gangplank instead, because he has a different role in mind. He is going to be able to walk straight past the other archer, because that guy doesn't have broadhead arrows and also doesn't really do any damage to Clifford, so Clifford can just waltz past him and not worry about the fact that he would be overwatched. I try to have Clifford kill him with his lance as he approaches, but that doesn't happen on this particular clear. So, as you can see, Alvina is going to be using her fauchard to kill as many of these pirates as she can. That's a pretty reliable way to do it, but unfortunately her accuracy is kind of iffy sometimes. so she needs support from some of my infantry units at times. She is able on turn 2 to dart into the range of the broadhead arrow enemy to kill the pirate with a health charm, and then retreat out of range afterwards, and this is possible because of where she was deployed. The end result of this is that Dean is deployed too far back to really do anything, meaning that I could have replaced him with Saphira if I'd really wanted to, but unfortunately I didn't realize that, and so we end up with this. But Saphira will get her moment to shine later on. So as I mentioned, Clifford doesn't have to worry about being stopped by Overwatch as he crosses the gangplank. His role is not to head off the pirates as you might expect, but instead to go after the boss, Weiss. Weiss is a pretty troublesome boss because we have to capture him, and he has a lot of skills that mitigate damage. However, there is a scripted way to capture him. What we have to do is get Sylvis over to him and deal at least 1 damage to him using her. She still has to deal with his really annoying parry skill, which he can use to occasionally just take no damage, but we have to deal with that one way or another. Because Sylvis only has 4 movement, we want to start baiting Weiss to come towards us as soon as possible, and that's what Clifford is going to do. He can get into Weiss's range on turn 3, meaning that Sylvis is going to be able to attack Weiss on turn 4. For this to happen though, Clifford needs to get within range of Weiss fairly early, because Weiss likes to end his turn quite early on, and then we can't bait him out on turn 3, which is a downside. Weiss deals a surprising amount of damage thanks to his Estoc, but because he always attacks with Mercy, he's never going to kill us, and that means that someone else would have to find a way to damage Clifford. But it does mean that Clifford's horse is going to get fairly worn down in the course of this map, which isn't exactly ideal. So on this turn, Alvina moves in to attack another enemy, and this is the one with the gold dust. So Alvina has managed to get us both of the items that we really wanted from this, and that's thanks once again to her Fauchard, which is an always great brave weapon. So I wanted to give Sherpa the final capture on Weiss in this map. Sherpa is very close to level 20, and getting to level 20 will allow him to use the Zweihänder as a substitute for his broken Brim Ranger. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that to happen on this map, but it is a goal I want to achieve as soon as possible. Now, as I've alluded to, this is a 4-turn clear, but I think there is a possibility to get a 3-turn instead. If we just rush a bunch of cavalry over to Weiss, we could potentially cripple him and capture him before Sylvis has any hope of reaching him. The reason that I did not go for this is that Weiss has a slightly ridiculous skill set consisting of pretty much every Bane skill other than Arrow Bane. So Sylvis and Faramir are my only units that have any real hit rate against him anyway. If I'd been training people like Christine or Sherlock, it might have been a bit more possible, but I didn't, and so we're going to have to settle for a 4-turn in this run. Even with the potential to deal damage to him, we would still then be relying on the RNG to get the cripple on Weiss, and that would just make such a clear extremely unreliable and well outside the bounds of what I would like to go for on this run. Sylvis is now able to attack Weiss, and I make sure to use the sniper arrows in order to remove mischance as a possible failure state. As I've mentioned, he can activate parry so that Sylvis can't deal damage to him, and it's very annoying when that happens, but finally it did happen on this run. He took damage and is now crippled. Sadly it cost me the Apollyon, but that's a small price to pay to complete this map in 4 turns by having Alvina run up and capture him, and we get a couple of vulneraries off him, which is very nice, because I'm low on vulneraries and anything I don't have to buy is good. Anyway, I'll see you next time.